It began with laughter, not the joyful kind. The kind that hides disbelief. The kind that says, you can't be serious. On a brightly lit stage, in front of millions watching from home, Whoopi Goldberg chuckled. She wasn't being cruel, but she wasn't ready for the answer either. Keanu Reeves sat across from her, calm, centered, dressed in black, with a quiet presence that seemed to hush the chaos around him. They had talked movies. They had talked fame. Then she asked, almost casually, so, do you believe in God? She was smiling when she asked it. The audience laughed lightly, sensing humor ahead. A harmless question. A safe jab. But Keanu didn't smile. He didn't flinch. Yes, he said, without hesitation. The laugh track stopped. Not literally, but emotionally. Whoopi blinked. The room, so filled with banter seconds before, fell quiet. You believe in God, she said again. Slowly, this time. Yes, he didn't say it with arrogance. He didn't say it with fear. He said it like a man who had said it 1,000 times. And meant it every time. The moment hung in the air. Heavy. Real. You're the last person I expected to say that, Whoopi said, trying to pull the energy back into lightness. You meditate. You're all about energy and the universe. But religion, really? I believe in peace. And I believe in truth, Keanu replied. And God is both. Now the laughter was gone. Now the questions got sharper. Even after what you've been through, she asked. All the loss. All the pain. You still believe? Keanu leaned forward. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't preach. He simply shared, when I lost the people I loved. I didn't hear a voice. I didn't see a vision. But I felt something. Something that held me when everything else fell apart. People say that's just your brain protecting you, she offered. Comfort, nothing more. He nodded. I used to think that, too. Until the comfort didn't fade. Until I saw it carry me through things I shouldn't have survived. She tilted her head. You think God saved you? I think he never left me. The words were simple, but their weight was undeniable. The audience was silent. No rustling. No murmurs. Just eyes locked on a man who suddenly wasn't playing any role. Whoopi tried to smile again, but something had shifted. You know, I don't really buy into all that, she said. I know, Keanu replied gently, but I think you want to? The words weren't accusatory. They were compassionate. I used to, she admitted, almost involuntarily. What changed? She hesitated. Life, she said. Loss. Betrayal. Watching people preach one thing and live another. People fail, Keanu said. But God doesn't. And in that moment, you could feel it. The shift. The tension wasn't argumentative. It wasn't political. It was personal. And it was real. Keanu looked out toward the audience, eyes searching for something unseen. Faith isn't about having all the answers, he said. It's about trusting, even when the questions are too heavy. He looked back at Whoopi. And I've carried some heavy questions. The lights felt dimmer now. Not physically, but emotionally. This wasn't just a celebrity interview anymore. This was a man opening his soul. And he wasn't trying to impress. He was trying to tell the truth. Whoopi stared at him for a long second. Why share this now? She asked. You've been private your whole life. Why now? He paused, then smiled softly. Because silence is safe. But truth is sacred. And that's when it all changed. The audience didn't clap. They didn't cheer. They listened. She didn't respond right away. Her smile faltered, just for a moment. Not because she was offended. Not because she was angry. But because something had landed. Something deep. And Keanu didn't push. He just sat there, steady, like a lighthouse in a storm. Finally, she spoke. You say faith helped you through loss, she said carefully. But what about the people who didn't make it through? What about the ones who prayed and died anyway? Keanu nodded, slowly. I've asked that same question. And, he took a breath. And I realized, God isn't a genie. He doesn't grant wishes. He walks with you through the fire. He doesn't always put it out. Whoopi leaned forward. But what's the point of believing in something that lets the fire burn? To remember, we're not alone in the heat. She blinked. And for a second, she didn't have a comeback. Not because she agreed, but because she understood. I've sat in hospital rooms, Keanu continued. Rooms where hope ran out. Rooms where silence screamed louder than any prayer. And in those moments, faith wasn't about answers. It was about not falling apart. The audience sat frozen. They weren't watching a movie. They were watching truth. Unfiltered. Sometimes I wonder, Whoopi said quietly, If faith is just the human way of not going mad. Maybe, Keanu said. But what if it's more than survival? What if it's how we remember we were made for something eternal? She didn't answer. And he didn't expect her to. Instead, he told a story. I remember a day after I lost her, he said. I was walking down a crowded street. No one knew what I was carrying inside. And then this little kid ran past me, laughing, chasing a balloon. He paused, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled, just a little, and that smile felt like God saying, I'm still here. Whoopi closed her eyes, because she had felt that too. She just hadn't said it out loud in years. Do you think he talks to you? She asked. God, no, Keanu said. I think he listens. And sometimes, he answers through silence. That sounds lonely. It's not. Because even silence can be holy. She looked up. You really believe in something that can't be touched, seen, measured? I believe in love, he said. And that can't be measured either. The audience murmured. Soft gasps. Quiet sobs. You could feel hearts cracking open. Because truth has a way of sneaking in. Whoopi rested her hands on the desk. I used to pray, she said suddenly. When I was little, she wasn't looking at him anymore. She was looking at the memory. I'd kneel by my bed and whisper all the things I was afraid to say out loud. Keanu didn't interrupt. And then, life happened, and I stopped believing someone was listening. Maybe he never stopped listening, Keanu said. Maybe you just stopped talking. The line hit like thunder. Not because it was loud, but because it was true. She exhaled slowly. You don't flinch, do you? No, he replied. Pain taught me how to stand still. There was something sacred about the silence that followed. No commercial break. No applause sign. Just the raw, aching stillness of two people confronting the deepest parts of themselves. Do you think faith makes people better? She asked suddenly. He paused. Double quotes. No, but I think it makes them real. She raised an eyebrow, and real is enough. It has to be. For a moment, you could almost hear her heart racing. This wasn't a segment anymore. This was soul work. You know, she whispered, I didn't expect you to make me feel like this. I didn't expect to say half of this, he replied. And then she laughed. But not like before. Not mocking. Not dismissive. It was softer. Almost healing. You're really not who I thought you were, she said. I'm not trying to be. The audience clapped gently. Not because it was time, but because it felt right. And just like that, everything changed. This wasn't about Hollywood. This wasn't about religion. This was about humanity. Broken. Searching still. Standing. Faith wasn't just a word anymore. It was a witness. And the man who played Neo was suddenly more real than any character he'd ever played. Not because he was famous, but because, in a world drowning in noise, someone had finally said something that mattered. It was quiet now. Not the kind of quiet you get between jokes, but the kind that comes when something real has entered the room. The audience didn't shift. They didn't move. They just listened. And Whoopi, she wasn't performing anymore. Tone had softened. Her guard was lower. She looked at him not as a host interviewing a guest, but as a person, trying to understand. You make it sound so certain, she said. Like you never have doubts. I have doubts every day, he replied. Then how do you stay grounded? Because I've stood on the edge of nothing. And faith was the only thing that didn't let me fall. She leaned back. I've been there too, she admitted. The edge. And I remember thinking, no one was coming. He nodded. I thought that too, until I realized. Someone already had. She tilted her head. What do you mean? He took a breath. When she died, he said quietly, I stopped believing for a while. Everything felt empty, cold, like prayers were bouncing off the ceiling. And then one day, I looked in the mirror and saw someone still breathing, still standing. And I realized, that wasn't me. That was grace. Silence again. She didn't try to deflect it this time. She just let it sit there. You think everyone has access to that grace? She asked. I think we're drowning in it. We just forgot how to look up. And then, she asked the question that would change everything. If you could say one thing, just one to everyone listening, right now, to anyone who's ever felt broken, or abandoned by God, what would you say? Keanu didn't blink, didn't hesitate. He leaned in, and with a calm that could melt stone he spoke. I don't follow God because I'm good. I follow him because I know I'm not. The words hit like a wave. Complete silence. Not even a breath. Because everyone, every single soul in that room felt it. Not just heard it. Felt it. He wasn't bragging. He wasn't preaching. He was confessing. And in that confession, people saw their own flaws, their own failures, their own desperate need for something greater than themselves. Whoopi stared at him, not with challenge, but with awe. "Say that again," she whispered. "I don't follow God because I'm good. I follow him because I know I'm not." And that was the moment everything changed. The laughter from the beginning, forgotten. The audience, breathless. The world, watching because for once, someone said the thing everyone was too afraid to admit. That faith isn't for the perfect, it's for the wrecked, the lost, the ashamed, the ones who have nothing left but surrender. And in that moment, Keanu gave people permission to stop pretending. Whoopi looked down at her hands, and when she looked back up, her eyes were glassy. "You just said more in one sentence than some people say in their whole lives," she said. "I didn't say it for applause," he replied. "I said it because it's the only reason I'm still alive." And that was the truth. The room didn't bounce back. It didn't need to. Something sacred had just happened, and everyone knew it. No music, no applause, just breath and stillness. Keanu sat back in his chair, not smug, not triumphant, just calm, like someone who had said exactly what he came to say. Whoopi leaned forward. This wasn't an interview anymore. This was something else entirely. "I never expected this," she said softly. He looked at her, not with pride, not with pity, just presence. "Neither did I," he said. "But maybe that's how truth works. It finds us when we stop trying to control the moment." She smiled. The kind of smile that comes after a long cry. A tired, knowing smile. Funny how one sentence can shake your whole foundation. "It didn't shake it," he said. "It revealed what was already cracked." She looked at the audience now. "Not to perform. To share. You all came here to see a celebrity talk show," she said. "But something real showed up instead." And the audience, they didn't cheer. They didn't shout. They just sat with it because they knew she was right. "I used to believe in God," she said out loud now, to everyone. "I stopped because I thought he stopped caring." Keanu didn't jump in. He just waited. "But maybe," she continued, "he never left. Maybe I just stopped looking." The silence was gentle now, not heavy, not uncomfortable. It was healing. "I've spent years laughing off what scared me," she said. "But you walked straight into it. And you brought peace with you." Keanu smiled, not because he had won anything, but because something had been found again. And then, like a whisper, he said one last thing. "Peace doesn't shout, it stands in the storm, and stays." Those words hung in the air like soft thunder. Not loud, but unforgettable. The show ended minutes later, but no one remembered the closing music. No one remembered the credits. They remembered the silence, the shift, the man who spoke not with volume, but with soul. And they remembered the line, "I don't follow God because I'm good. I follow him because I know I'm not." That single sentence echoed across the internet, across living rooms, across broken hearts. Not because it was clever, but because it was true, and truth when spoken, without fear, has a way of reaching places no spotlight ever could. Asterisk.